something a little bit different for you on this video. There were two things that kind of emerged as part of Non-League to Legend last year that people were really keen on. One was Non-League to Legend Extra, the series of extra episodes that, although didn't form part of the main series, did add to the series and allow people who wanted to dig a little bit deeper to dig a little bit deeper. The other was the transfer window live streams that I did at various points throughout the save. Now, the transfer window live streams will return. I couldn't live stream this one because I'm recording the videos in advance because of reasons, but what I thought I'd do, let's bring back Non-League to Legend Extra and let's make it a transfer special. So we're going to go through the whole of the summer. We're going to review last season's team. We're going to plan our squad for the next year. We're going to bring our new players in. I'm not going to obviously record every moment of that as if it was a live stream, but I imagine it's going to be a slightly longer video than usual. It's not something that you have to see to enjoy the rest of Non-League to Legend. It's an extra thing. And as you'll have seen on today's normally numbered Non-League to Legend episode earlier today, I did introduce all of the players on there and give you a quick look at the new squad. So if you've already seen that, you'll know where we end up. But this is the story of how we got there. Hello and welcome to the first Non-League to Legend Extra of FM19. I'm Kev, and this is going to be the story of our first full summer in charge at St Albans. We're picking things up on the 12th of May. We've just lost in the playoff semi-finals. Spoilers, if you're not up to date in the series. To be honest, if you're not up to date in the series, don't watch these. These are extra. They're not instead of, and they do complement the main series. But we've just finished off that season. We haven't really identified our transfer targets or anything yet, but we have had our end of season awards come through. And as we all knew, David Noble has won player of the season with 45% of the vote, followed by Sam Merson on 26%. We're going to get to Sam Merson in a little while, and James Spruce on 18%. David Noble also winning goal of the season. Should we have a little look at his goal of the season to have a look to see how good it was? I think I remember this goal. It was a little bit special, if I recall. A free kick and boom. I think, to be honest, that wasn't the best goal Noble scored this year, I don't think. And I think Ben Hurd scored a couple of better free kicks than that. But we'll let him have it. I guess it's because it's got the added bonus of it being in our local derby against Hemel Hempstead as well. Bradley Mcdonough getting signing of the season despite losing his place as the season went on. And David Moyo, young player of the season. And he's the definition of losing your place as the season developed. Because if we have a little look at him, the last time he played regularly was in March. And even that, it was coming on as a substitute. He didn't even play from the start in the second half of the season, despite being our top scorer heading into Christmas. He kind of fell off my radar a little bit. And this was our team of the year. Again, you could all pick this yourselves. Mcdonough in goal, a back four of Wyatt, Wills, Bender and Hurd, Wilkins, Sambu, Noble and Hopkins in midfield, and then Spruce and Merson up front. But that team of the year, and particularly Sam Merson being second on player of the season, does lead me to my first conundrums of the summer. Because if you look at our budgets, we've been over our wage budget all season. They have set the new wage budget for the new season and it's not increased. In fact, let's make our first request. Can we have some more money, please? Increase wage budget. I would like to increase the wage budget. We're not sure the squad actually needs any additions. I mean, have you been paying attention? It's not about quality clubs. No, lack of ambition. Or like, I've forced some more money out of them. That is going to be significant, $5,500 a week, and that is going to have a massive impact on some of the decisions that we make, because we're currently committed to spending £3,900 a week, and because of that, there are some contracts I hadn't renewed, some big contracts. If we have a look at the team and look at the players who are out of contract, obviously ignoring the loans, but we've got Ben Hurd, whose contract is up, Tom Bender's contract is up, and Sam Merson's contract is up as regular first team starters, and I think we need to get those contracts renewed before we do anything else. So Sam Merson currently on £250 a week. He wants £350. I mean, that's a bit ambitious, Sam. Come on now. Let's just do you another year on what you're earning at the moment. I think that's fair. And you've gone up to £450. Well, that was unexpected. Perhaps I'm not paying Sam Merson £450 a week. That's absolute insanity. Let's say, actually, Sam, you know what? 300 then. 425. We're getting there. I'm not going above 350 because that was his original thing. This is just his clever way of negotiating himself up to 350, isn't it? The man's a genius. We're not going to agree, are we? I'm not going to 400. He can have 350 or he can leave. Well, we've obviously got another 6 weeks or so to try again, but as it stands right now, we are going to be without Sam Merson because of unrealistic wage demands. Ben Hurd. Yikes. Ben Hurd won't even discuss a contract. Not currently interested in entering into contract discussions. I'm currently unhappy at the club. You what, fella? Worried about the poor dressing room atmosphere. What poor dressing room atmosphere? I mean, seriously, what poor dressing... That good dressing room atmosphere we've got. That's the one you're worried about, Ben. I mean, some of these are going to leave. All 4 of them are out of contract and will be gone. So hopefully, I mean, they're going to leave at the same time as him. So, oh, that's annoying. Okay, we'll try again with Ben Hurd as well. Tom Bender, who's wanted. Who's he wanted by? York. What division are York in? York are in the National League North. Okay, so they're not. It's not like there's a league club after him. So let's offer Tom Bender a contract. Why is it just showing me his existing one? I don't want to... Weird. Okay. So what was he on at the moment? He's on 300. So same as what we did with Sam Merson. Let's push him down to 300 and say, look, you can have the same money and just carry on with it. Ah, these players, don't they realise we're still in the same division we were in last year? There you go, 325. I got a £25 pay rise. Tom Bender gets a £25 pay rise as well. So at least we've got one of them tied down. And everyone else, I mean, they're fringe players. I'm not that bothered about getting anyone else tied down to a new deal. But that does now push up our committed spending, presumably, although not until he signs it. Sam Merson and Ben Hurd, that could be a problem, though. Right, let's go through the rest of the season review stuff. So, season review, we had a pretty good... I mean, it was a very good season in all competitions. We were expected to be mid-table. We got into the playoffs. We overachieved in all of the cup competitions as well. Average attendance of 1,001, and we used 30 different players, which was the 3rd highest in the National League South. Some of that is because I started playing youth players as the season went on. We've now got Noble and Sambu as team leaders, who are both contracted to be here next season, but Hurd and Merson and Bender are all our other influential players and all currently on expiring contracts, although Bender hopefully will sign his new one very soon. End of season team meeting. I guess we look for... We've got to aim for the playoffs again, haven't we? Let's say top half. Top half hits the nail on the head. And they're all happy. Excellent stuff. The board are confident in my leadership. Injuries are a thing. Pre-season is there. And our wage budget's increased. Right. Let's let some time pass. So my transfer plan for the summer really is to keep an eye on all of the players that we've got scouted. Let's just clear that. We've got a lot of players who are scouted who presumably most of them are going to be out of contract. So take this guy, for example. Okay, he's not out of contract, but I think what we probably need to do is everyone who's already on a good scout report, especially these who are out of contract, we need to get up-to-date scout reports on them all fairly early on. I'm reluctant to make too many moves before players start getting released from clubs because I don't want to bring in second best options. Do we need to... We need to reduce the number of people we're scouting there. So we're gonna re-scout all of this lot for now, and then when the clubs start releasing players, then we'll start offering some trials. I don't want to start offering loads of trials before we get to that point. I tend to just focus on players who've got a scout rating that's still in the green. I think once you get down to below 65, I mean even on 65 is a bit of an iffy one, but once you get below that, they're really not players that I'm interested in bringing in. As I've said before, we're not going to be going on a player search stream. We're not going to be searching through existing players, players of other clubs, looking who's been released from different things. It's going to be very different to how we did things on Back in the Borough last year, where our first port of call now would be scouting the entire of the Premier League youth teams that have released players. But the one thing we are going to do, which is something that I think fits perfectly into my non-league to legend rules, is we're going to have a chat with my director of football and just say, look, who have we got we might not even be able to do this yet, but goalkeepers who are coming up to the end of their contract now. We're actually going to wait until the 1st of July when we'll ask him to recommend some free transfers and some loans to us. So we really are going to let some time pass this time, because we're literally just waiting for the 1st of July and waiting for scout reports to come in. We're pretty much going to do nothing now until pre-season starts. Confirmation that Tom Bender has signed his new contract, which, if we head back to our finances page, I mean, it hasn't committed that much more spending, which is confusing. I'm not sure how committed spending works. We're still within our budget. That's the important thing. Has Ben Hurd calmed down yet? Has he decided that now Tom Bender's staying, he can stay too? No, of course he hasn't. Brilliant. For those of you desperate to see how the playoffs turned out, I know some of you will be, Wealdstone won the playoffs and became the second team to get promoted out the National League South. I think they finished second in the league, didn't they? If we have a look at if we learn how to press the right buttons, yeah, first and second went up. I mean, we can't really complain too much about that, can we? If we have a look through the other divisions quickly as well while we're here. So in the Conference North, Blythe Spartans won the division, Stockport won the playoffs, with Curzon, Ashton, Altrincham and Boston getting relegated. Poor old Boston disappearing out of the playable leagues. Up to the Conference National, and we get relegated Barrow, Maidenhead, Braintree and Hampton Waterlooville. Barnet won the division, with Chesterfield winning the playoffs. Chesterfield from quite far back in the playoffs, coming in with a bit of a victory there. Very fancy. Moving up to League 2. And in League 2, playoffs haven't actually finished happening yet, but I'll forget to ever go back to this, so we'll just have to work it out as we go along. So relegated were Crewe and Macclesfield. Lincoln won the division, Mcdonough second, Exeter third, and then either Crawley or Bury will progress through the playoffs. In League 1, same situation, playoffs haven't happened yet. Sunderland winning the league, Portsmouth second, Charlton and Burton are the playoff final. Posh just outside the playoffs, very sad. Wycombe, Plymouth, Shrewsbury and Rochdale relegated. We're getting closer to the big ones, boys and girls. So in the Championship, Blackburn win the league, Sheffield United automatic promotion, and the playoff finalist Swansea against West Brom, with Rotherham, Norwich and Bolton all relegated from the Championship. And then in the Premier League, so this is my first unsullied with Premier League season that we can have a look at. Man United win the league. Man City, Liverpool and West Ham getting into the Champions League spots. Chelsea finishing 5th. So that shows how much of an overperformance my first season with Chelsea was in my Chelsea series. Tottenham, then Arsenal. West Ham, though, getting into the Champions League. What on earth did they do to get into the Champions League? They spent £127 million. That's what they did. My word. I mean, most of that was in real life, though. But then they went and spent even more money in January. Wowzers. Graham Shinney's going to be playing in the Champions League for West Ham next season. What a world. Brighton, Fulham and Cardiff were the teams that got relegated. And I guess, talking of the Champions League, we may as well, while we're going through all the big competitions, we may as well look at the Champions League as well. And then we'll get back to our normal summer. So Champions League is going to be a Man City Inter Milan final. You'll have to remind me to check out who wins that. And then I've tried to type Europa and UEFA at the same time. In the Europa League, it's Milan against Lazio in the final. So an all-Italian affair in the Europa League. Now we'll get back to waiting for July the 1st. Breaking news, Ben Hurd is no longer concerned about the dressing room atmosphere, so fingers crossed we can get Ben Hurd a new deal. He wants a lot of money though. He's on £275 a week at the moment, wants to go up to £400 a week. He's going to turn 34 in the next month. I'm not paying him £400 a week. I think we might be losing Ben Hurd regardless. We've already got Percy signed up for a contract for next year. He's 15 years younger and almost as good and on a lot less money. So Hurd is a bit of a luxury and we're going to force him down. We might let him have the same £25 a week pay rise that I got. Let's see if he'll accept 300. No. Go on. This is going to be the last offer, I think. Who gets their own way? He's in for 300. Ben Hurd is going to be back for another season. Should we try again with Sam Merson as well while we're looking at contracts? Because we really would like to... Nope. Might be losing Sam Merson. Well, this was unexpected. We've just had budgets through, and our wage budget has gone up again. This time to £5,600 a week, and we've been given some transfer budget. We've got £36,000 to spend. This is what happens when your bank balance just shoots up all year thanks to some good cup runs. But we've actually got a little bit of spensies as well, so that potentially changes things. I don't know whether, I think what I'm most likely to do, rather than splurging that on a player, although I mean potentially could buy James Spruce, who's available for somewhere in that kind of range, so we could sign him permanently. But what we're probably more likely to do, and we're not going to do it right now, we're going to have a look at this though, is if we put that all into wage budget, we could get our wage budget up to like £6,500 a week, which I think that's going to be more of a difference maker than spending £35,000 on a player. Interesting development. We've had this come through from my assistant manager, who's just recommended I offer new contracts to Banton and Moyo, and I thought, you know what, we can get better strikers than Banton and Moyo. What's the point? But I had a little look to see what we could offer, and Zane Banton wants a non-contract, 0 wages, but an appearance fee. He's on £300 a week as a salaried contract at the moment. I'm thinking if I can knock that down to 300 as an appearance fee, it probably makes sense just to keep him around. Come on, 300. There we go. So we'll keep Banton around, and then if we sign better strikers, we can let him go. If we don't, we can keep him. I don't know if it's worth doing the same thing with Moyo. Is that what he's interested in? I mean, on the same basis for Moyo, it keeps them at the club beyond July the 1st, so that we can then make a decision on them after we've seen who we can bring in. It seems to be sensible business. So both of those two, initially getting new non-contract contracts. That makes sense. We're also now able to discuss contract with Merson again, and I'm thinking probably, because we've now got the extra wage budget, it does make sense to offer him a bit of a pay rise. Not this much of a pay rise though. He's on £250 a week at the moment. I don't want him going up to £450. I know this is where talks broke down before, but we'll go up a little. We'll go and try and meet him a little bit higher. If we end up on 400, it's not a disaster. For a 1 year extension, Sam Merson on £400 a week. He's in as well. We have the backbone of a squad now in place for next season, I think, with a month to go before we can start bringing in some trialists. We're getting ever closer to the 1st of July, but we've had our season expectations come through for next year. Board looking for a mid-table finish, 4th qualifying round of the FA Cup and 1st round of the FA Trophy. We over-exceeded all... In fact, well, we met that one last season, but we were above both of those. So they've given us a bunch more money, over £6,000 of wage budget. I mean, it's like we've had a 50% increase on our wage budget and been asked to do worse than we did last season. This is awesome. Match official changes, that's fine. National League selection rules. So the only rule is no more than 5 loan players. That's in the match squad, so we can have more than 5 loans in our overall squad, just we can only play 5 of them on match day. We're getting ever closer to the 1st of July when we can actually start making our moves. We pretty much have our squad sorted now. Is there a way to exclude players who are expiring? There isn't. See, why would you want to exclude players on long-term deals? I want to exclude... In fact, I guess we can do the opposite of what I was doing. So at the moment, these are the ones who we are going to be moving on. The loans are all going back. We're not renewing any of the loans. We might well try and bring some of them back again, but I think we've got to try and do better with our loans than we did last year. Some of these in particular, Morgan, Bosma, Edwards, never broke into the team. There's an argument that we should probably keep Catherall, Hopkins and Spruce, but we might be able to find better ones. It would be, I mean, Spruce maybe. Do we even have the option to bring him back for another loan? Would prefer him to play with higher quality players, so he can't come back. What about Hopkins? He says he's not going to do it, and then I'm going to sit and do it. He must be out of contract, so we'll perhaps try and sign him on a free transfer. And then Catherall, I guess he's going to be on a free transfer as well. So both of those, we could potentially bring in on frees. We might even try and... Can we offer them contracts now? Oh my word. I'm not giving him a big pay rise. Preferred position, no, we're not going to play him there. Well, we're definitely not doing that. We're definitely not doing that. We're not going to improve the coaching team. Make the National League South playoffs in 2 years' time. I can leave that one on there. We'll look for we're going to do both of those things. What's he grumpy about? Okay, so we can't bring Hopkins in. Cafferel, let's try him. Approach to sign, long-term aims. Yeah, we can do that. Why are you now adding more on then, you idiot? I'm not giving you a big pay rise. I'm not improving the coaching team. Right, we can't bring either of those two in because they're a pair of idiots. We'll try again as the summer goes on. And now I've forgotten what I was doing because I'm supposed to be showing you that screen. So these are the players who are going to be leaving. All the loans are going back. Forget the fact that Banton and Moya are on there. Obviously, we've got them on their week-to-week contracts. But the big players who you'll have met who are going to be leaving, Cameo, Snedker, Gabriel and Show Silver are the ones who are going to be leaving who haven't already gone. It's nearly the 1st of July. So it's the 30th of June. All the players who were leaving have now gone. My word, we're on a small squad now. How many players is this that we've actually got in our first team squad? I'm sure there's a way that you can get it to tell you 13 people in our first team squad, and there's not much more deeper down. They're mostly youngsters again, and yeah, wowzers. We've got a little bit of work to do, but if we have a look at this position by position, we'll get an idea of what we're looking to strengthen as we move into free transfer territory. So goalkeeper-wise, I think Mcdonough is fine as a backup. I'd like to bring a first-choice keeper in over his head again and push him back down onto the bench. Broughton can play in the under-18s once we bring another goalkeeper in. So there's definitely a goalkeeper on the shopping list. Defence-wise, left-back, we're adequately covered. Hurst can play there. Wyatt and Bender both do play there. It's probably our strongest position in the entire squad. Right back, we've got Hurst and Percy, and Bender can cover there if needed. Again, I don't think we necessarily need to bring in any fullbacks at all. I think we're very strong at fullback. Centre back, we do need a little bit of work if we sort this by ability. Sambu can play there, and Bender can play there, and Percy can play there. Ideally, I'd like to avoid playing players in position they can play in and play them in their actual proper positions this season, which means we've only got Andrew Mills as an actual proper centre-back. So we probably need another 2 or 3 decent standard centre-backs to come into the club as a matter of urgency. In central midfield, we've got Sambu and Noble, and then nothing beyond them. So we definitely need firstly, we need a substitute to come on for Noble every game, a long-term replacement for Noble, and backup for Sambu, and probably another, maybe 2 or 3 central midfielders player come in as well. On the left wing, we have nothing really. We've got Wyatt can play there, but nothing. Right wing, we have nothing. Slightly misleading because we have got Stuart Wilkin, who can play right wing. He's a competent right midfielder, but really wants to be playing further forward. But we're continuing to try and train him to be a midfielder. It's taking him a long time to learn, bless him. And then up front, we've got Merson and then Banton and Moyo, who are both hanging around, but with a view to being replaced if we can find somebody better. So there's a lot of players in a lot of positions we want to bring in. It's about to tick over to the 1st of July, and as soon as it does, we're going to start bringing some players in, and expect to see an awful lot of trials arrive at the club in the next few days. Still in non-league to legend rules, these are going to be trialists that we've scouted over the course of the last year, plus the ones that we get recommended by the director of football as well. But all the same, there are going to be an awful lot of them. So we've got players who've reported back in top condition, both Banton and Moyo in that number. So they're trying to win their place in the squad. Welcome back for pre-season. Let's be passionate and say we're going to finish in the top half, which they're happy about, which is good. We've got our pre-season friendlies already arranged. I'm not going to show you those. Who is Sammy Moore? I guess he was a player last season and now he's a manager, so I don't care anymore. And I'm not going to mess around with captains and set-piece takers until we have a squad in place. So first thing we need to do is just acknowledge those two and then get on to our scouted players. Bosma is 99% scout report. Maybe we should probably bring him in, maybe. So we're looking for players who are currently unattached and are interested in joining us for transfer. And we're going to keep it sorted according to high recommendation. We're just going to bring in the cream of the crop. We don't want to bring in a whole load of trash. So we're going to bring those guys in for now. Offer all of them. We'll try and do a 4-week trial, get a proper look at them. And then we're going to do the same thing by going to our director of football. And we're going to be asking him for players in each position that are available on free transfers. I'm not going to sit and make you watch me do all of these, but we're going to get one of these for every position, even ones like fullback that we don't necessarily even need. Get those in on trial as well. And then we should have a whole bunch of trialists to have a look at and start piecing together a squad. The other thing, of course, now I've offered all those trials, is we're just going to have a look at the loan players who are available as well from players we've scouted previously. So not much in the way of decent pickings for loans, but Sean McCormack is a right midfield player who's currently at Maidenhead. He's not as good as Albie Hopkins was last year, so we're not interested in him. Dijon Noel Williams is a striker who's not as good as the ones we had last year, and Dunstan Digweed is, again, not as good as what we've got. So we're not looking at loans at the moment. I have asked my director of football to suggest some loans as well, but as loans start to appear, we'll start to make loan offers for people. But we have an awful lot of trial offers out there at the moment. So what I'm going to do now is, rather than looking at them all as they come in, we'll see which ones turn up on trial. They're all here for 4 weeks if they come, so there's going to be a whole bunch of them arriving in the squad, and then we'll try and piece together a squad from there. We have like nearly £3,000 a week to play with, so we could bring in some top quality players, which is very exciting. It's not that players at this level are keen to find a club, but it's 1:15 on the 1st of July and they're all in. So let's have a look at what that's done to the squad. If we sort this by position, work through it in a sensible fashion. Why does it always adjust my size of my columns? I don't like that it does that. It's very annoying. So there isn't a goalkeeper who's better than what we've got, which is a bit of a problem. I think I'm probably inclined. I'm making notes. So we're going to try and loan a goalkeeper, because if we can't find a better goalkeeper than Mcdonough, I don't want to just bring someone in for the sake of it. Ben Broughton can sit on the bench if we really can't find anybody. But for now, we've got 4 keepers in. None of them as good as Mcdonough. So Mcdonough will be our keeper unless we can loan in a better one. So moving on to defenders. And in defence, we only really need centre-backs. We're good for full-backs. I mean, if we look at the full-backs that have come in, none of them are better than what we've got. But centre-back-wise, this is where we are very weak as a squad. So we've only really got Andrew Mills. So we need to bring in a few of these, but we don't want to rush the decision. There's always the loan market as well. But Joy McKenna looks like my kind of player, 19 years old. I know we can't really see much in the way of his stats yet, which is going to give some of you an aneurysm, the fact that you can't actually make any kind of judgment about what kind of player that he is. But as far as I'm concerned, he's a player who's better than Andrew Mills. And to me, that wins. He's good in the air, which is handy for a centre-back. Potential to be a League Two centre-back in the future. He's quick. I mean, he sounds perfect. Can play in a couple of positions. We don't know what they are yet because he's only been here an afternoon. But he's just been released by Watford. If we can sign this guy, and I think that's a big if, bearing in mind his playing history, but if we can sign him, he's a big signing. Nice. He doesn't even want too much money either. Let's try not to be too cute with the negotiations. He's not asking for a 10% pay rise. He just wants to be in for a year. £230 a week for him. Seems like a bargain. I think we have a new centre-back and potentially a second new centre-back here in the shape of Ryan Suckling, who's 18 years old. He is, roughly equivalent ability to Andrew Mills. Poor technique, very one-footed. But again, potential to be a League Two centre-back in the future. Another one who's come through Watford, so he's going to know the other guy. Which, they'll have come through the youth team together, forming a partnership, presumably. That can't be a bad thing. I have actually cancelled the affiliate relationship between St Albans and Watford, but I guess in realism terms, it is pretty realistic for players who've just been released by Watford. If they're going to drop into non-league, they drop into St Albans. It seems to make sense. I don't mind taking Watford's rejects. I'm just not going to take their loans. We probably could have had these on loan last year as part of the affiliate agreement, if I believed in affiliate agreements. And then we've got a potential last one, Jerome Apoku, who's 20 years old. Again, roughly equivalent ability to Mills. If he's cheap, I'm not going to be against bringing him in. Potential to be a National League defender in the future. He's from Fulham. I tell you what, I'm just going to wait. If we can sign these two, we might wait and see what we've got as potential loans. We'll keep an eye on the rest of these, because we don't want someone else to snap Apoku up. But at the same time, I don't want to throw loads of money at him if there's better options out there, especially because we've not filled out the rest of the squad yet. So we're now going to look at wide players because we need wingers. We don't really have any at the club. We've got Ben Wyatt who can play there, but as we've said before, we don't want him to play it. Look who's turned up again, Connor Russo, who we had him last year and then released him because he wasn't good enough. He's popped back up again on trial. This is what happens when I don't read the list. But I'm not re-signing Connor Russo. There's no left wingers on there. So again, we need to loan a left-sided midfield player. Or we're going to end up in the same situation as last year with Wilkin playing out there. In fact, with Wilkin in mind, let's open it up to attacking left-sided players as well, because we can always try and retrain them, and that gives us the option of Elliot Murray, who is, I mean, is he a striker really? It says he's a winger. A winger who can play on the left-hand side, who's not quite as good as Stuart Wilkin at doing it. I mean, to be honest, that doesn't seem like a player who's improving our team, so we're not going to bother with him. There wasn't really anything else that emerged on that side, so let's look at the right wing as well. Right wing, we've got Wilkin as our best right winger, obviously, but then we have Christy Patterson, who can play on either side, so he would have showed up on the other side as well, so potential option to go and cover both sides. As a right midfielder, he'd be our best at the club. Left midfielder, he'd be our best at the club. He was at Braintree last year in the National League, didn't get much in the way of game time, but I mean, at 22, he's not as young. He's not as young as he could be, but let's see if he's cheap. Oh, if he's coming in on non-contract, that's a no-brainer. I probably should have reduced his appearance fee, but I got excited. I love a non-contract player. Murray's on there again, and then Aaron Cosgrave isn't really improving us. And let's have a look at central midfield players as well, where I don't know that we actually need a huge amount in the way of central midfielders. We have got already at the club some decent options, especially if we open it up to our under-23s. We've got Rutty Smith, who we signed last season, towards the end of last season, who's got 5-star potential as well. But let's have a little look to see what there is. Daniel Horton, I mean, he seems like a player we should probably sign. He's better than everybody else. Better than Sambu. National League midfielder in the future. Has been at Lincoln. Let's just offer him a contract. Whoo, he wants a lot of money. For a position we don't necessarily need to strengthen. We need to push him down. He's going to, that we can't bring a 19-year-old in and pay him more than Sam Merson. That makes no sense to anybody. Especially not Merson, presumably. You'd have a right grump on if he found out about that. 375 a week I can live with. He can live with it too. And could potentially come in as our best central midfield player. I don't think we need another one straight away. We've got Sambu and Noble. Then we've got Johan Rutty. We've got, was that his name? We've got Percy as well, who can play in central midfield. This is another position where perhaps we'll bring in a loan, unless this guy's brilliant. George Carline. We've actually scouted him properly over the course of last season by the looks of it. He's better than Tilney, but not by a lot. He was at Solihull last year, not really. I'm not that desperate to sign him at the moment. And then the one we've all been waiting for. Let's have a look at the strikers. So Merson, obviously best striker at the club. Banton better than almost everybody else who's on there. Plus he's wanted. This is going to be the slight issue with him being on a non-contract. We might have to offer Banton a contract, especially bearing in mind there's not much better out there. Moyo maybe not so much, but Banton I think we probably do need to offer a real contract to. But Kel Akpabire, is that how you'd say that name? He's as good as Merson. Where did he come from? Slough last season, where he didn't play at all for Slough last year, which is a bit of a concern. If he's that good, why didn't Slough give him a game? We can't have a look at his injury history, can we? No, that's weird. We're going to try and sign him anyway, because if he's as good as Sam Merson, we don't need to worry if Slough didn't see his potential. We're just going to bring him in. We're going to try and give him as little money as possible, though, because that's how we roll. £275 a week. Bang. He can come in. Can we offer Banton a real deal now? Now we've seen that, nope. So we might be losing him just on the basis of I tried to be clever. And then there's not much that improves on what we've already got. So I think we probably need to loan a striker as well. Right, I'm going to wait for these players to come in, make sure they don't disappear off somewhere else, allow the dust to settle a little bit, and then hopefully we'll start getting some scout reports on the loan players that we were looking at. We've offered trials to all of the players who were on our scouting report, above 65% scout reports, even the ones that weren't interested in transfer. A lot of them are rejecting me, but a few of us are coming in. Once they're all in, we'll see if there's any more that we want to cherry pick out there and offer some contracts to. Can't believe Joe Anderson. Come on, Joe. Albie Hopkins is another heartbreaker. As good as he was last year, he wasn't £1.5 grand a week in non-league good. I'll try and offer him. I mean, he's going to say no anyway, but we'll just say, look, 625 quid. Take it. He wants a 3-year contract as well. Does he understand what non-league football is? After 15 games, I want £2,000 a week. You are a moron, Albi. Do you not remember what the world was like? £350 appearance. Stuff your appearance fee. What else are you after? Unused substitute appearance fee. Get that out of there as well. No, of course not. He isn't going to find a club anywhere, surely, with those kind of ridiculous demands. Right, that first bunch of players have all arrived. Horton, Patterson. We signed George Carline as well in the end just because he didn't want any money. So he's fine to have as an extra option around there in case something happens to Noble. Peterborough, Mcdonough, Suckling. So we've got the makings of a decent looking team appearing. Squad depth is going to be a little bit messy because there's going to be so many trialists on there. But that does highlight what I was about to say about the fact that we've had a few more trialists arrive. Who've come in, just basically popped up on scout reports, and I just offered them trials straight away. So we've got fullbacks that are better than the ones that we've got. Michael Mullings would be a better fullback than the one we've got now. I'm looking money-wise. We've still got loads of money left to spend. All we really need at this point is a goalkeeper, either to back up Mcdonough or to replace him, and a left winger. And we haven't signed any loans yet, so I'm thinking let's maybe upgrade some areas of the pitch where players are so much better than what we've got now. So can we offer him a contract? Why is it not? Have I already offered him a contract? Is he contracted to somebody else and we've just brought him in? That's the sort of dumb thing that I do. Why have I done that? So this is where scout reports have come in and I've just hit offer trial. So no wonder he's so much better than what we've got because he's a Portsmouth player. There's no point bringing a right back in on loan. Likewise, this guy's probably the same, isn't he? Oh no, he is actually here on trial, having not had a club. So he's better than Wyatt and Bender. Another Watford old boy, makes sense to bring him in. Let's just knock his wages down a little bit. And I know it means we're going to be overrunning with left backs, but it does allow Bender to then focus on being a centre back. Wyatt could potentially be the left midfielder that we need, and Sanders can come in and be our first choice left back. That would potentially work. Ronan we don't need, so he's not better than what we've got. Another centre back would be handy, although realistically centre back wise we're actually pretty much set for the squad now. We've got Bender, Suckling, Mills, Mcdonough, whoever Ross White is. He's got there's a load of them who've got potential to improve, but there's no one who's really stand out like those two fullbacks were. If we go a little bit further forward in the team, look at the strikers. Jaden Bennett is an attacking midfielder, so I'm not really interested unless he's a Watford old. He is a Watford old boy. Is he natural up front? No, genuinely no point bringing him in. We're not going to use an attacking midfielder. Other than that, there's still no strikers who really excite me there. I think we need to explore loans for strikers. I think we're set for midfielders. Sambu, Noble, Horton, Carline as a 4, plus we've got the youngsters as well. I don't think we need to bring in another midfielder unless someone blows me away. But what we do need is wide midfielders. Scott Nielsen, I know you're 32, but it doesn't hurt to have a bit of experience. You would be the best left-sided midfielder at the club. You, sir, are getting a contract offer. Whoa, you want a lot of money. This is the problem with dealing with old men. Let's try and offer him, try and force him down. I mean, we do have money to spend, so we can be a little bit spendy when we need to be. So he can potentially come in as our left midfielder. And then on the right wing, we've got Patterson, we've got Wilkin. Nielsen can play there too. I think we're getting to the point where we've got all the permanent players we're going to sign, unless someone really special appears, and it now becomes more about filling out the squad with loans. We've had a striker appear. Luke Hurst is potentially better than Sam Merson at 18 years old. 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential ability. He's a poacher. Would complement Akpabiri, who's 30 quid a week. Come on now. Let's push it down to 25. If he wants to come in as a hot prospect when he's potentially better than everyone we've already got, even if he turns out that not to be correct, then I'm happy to bring him in for £30 a week. I'll bring in 20 of them, and if only one of them ends up good enough for the first team, I'm happy. We've had our next wave of trialists arrive at the club. This time, goalkeepers are amongst them. Sam Besant, 31 years old, 4.5-star current ability, potentially. Was at Concord last season. Let's try and offer him a contract. Previously of the Glen Hoddle Academy. I mean, for a proper first-choice goalkeeper, I'm willing to give him big money. He can have his £300 a week if he really, really pushes for it, which it looks like he will try once more at 275. No, that's fine. Have your 300. And if we don't get him, we've got this guy as a potential option. Rhys Davis, 19. We might even... Should we see if we can get him as well? He's just come out of Leicester. If we can get this guy on the cheap... At least then we can decide which one of the two that we want. Do we want the more experienced guy on big money or the youngster on little money? I haven't looked to see what other positions we've had players come in for. Defence, I think our defence is sorted. I don't think we need any more defenders. Midfielders, again, unless someone spectacular arrives, I think we're just about done for midfielders. Let's just put all sides on so that we can see if we get our brilliant wide player that we're looking for. Terence Sadie can play naturally in midfield on either side. I mean, he feels like a player I probably need to be signing. Was at Reading. Let's offer him £500 a week. He's got a lot of money. It'll just about wipe out our budget, but it's exactly the player that we needed. Someone wide on those wings. I don't think we've really got the money for anybody else now. If we have a look, if there's a perfect striker, no, there isn't. So what does that do to our finances? It means we would be slightly over budget, but that's because we've offered for both of the goalkeepers. So we're going to have to choose between the goalkeepers. We can't have both. We might have to be sensible and have the younger of the two so that we can sign the winger as well. And then we really are done until we start bringing in loan players. Who, by the way, I've offered a whole bunch of potential loan players who we haven't got scout reports yet. But they're the ones who've been suggested by my director of football. I've offered them all trials. Inspired by those two fullbacks that came in before. I don't know if it's going to work, but we've got a whole bunch of them who are potentially going to... Most of them have rejected the trial, so it didn't work at all. My plan was to bring a whole load of them in on trial and then loan the best ones and get around not having scout reports yet. Obviously, I mean, the master plan didn't work, did it? I don't even know how I've done it. Somehow I've gone over the wage budget. We didn't sign Besant. We signed the other goalkeeper instead, the cheap one. But then a couple of youth team players turned 17 and got their real contracts, the 5-star potential ones. And it all went a little bit wrong. It all happened at the same time. It got out of hand. And we're £400 a week over wage budget, just like we were last year. Luckily, we still have plenty of cash knocking around, so hopefully it won't be a disaster. But I've now terminated all the loans. It's only the 18th of July, so the full season doesn't start for another 3 weeks. So we have our first team squad for the new season in place, and this is that first team squad. Currently with no loans. We still haven't really got any loans that are going to massively improve the squad to bring them in. These are the only players currently interested in coming to us on loan. I mean, we could, I guess, adjust that so that we have a look at the ones who are listed for loan and not worry so much about whether they're interested, in which case we could get Bosma back again. But we had him last season, and I mean, he wasn't... The fact that he looks so good, maybe we try and get him on loan for another year. Yeah, let's try and get him for another year because he's 99. He's got a 99 rating. We'll have a look through and see if there's any more of them that we want as well, and I'll show you them when we're done with this little bit. But this is the squad we're going with, and so if we go through it position by position, so you can see what we've got. Let me know down in the comments where you think we need to strengthen. But there are two keepers. We've got Mcdonough and Davies, the young lad who's come in from Leicester. Sort them by ability in each position. If we go and look at right backs, we've got Percy and Ben Hurd. So potentially we could bring in a better right back if we want someone better than 3-star. Left back, we're well stocked. At left back, we've got Kai Sanders, Ben Wyatt, Tom Bender, all very, very good left backs. Centre back, I think we're well covered as well now with Mills, Bender, Suckling, McKenna. Percy can play there too. I'm starting to think we probably do need a right back, which is a bit of a shame for Hurd. And central midfield, we could maybe do with an extra one, which is why I'm keen on Bosma. We've got Sambu, Horton, Noble and Carline, but Carline I'm not keen on. Percy I don't want to have to play there. So I think if Bosma comes in as well as another option in there, that can't be a bad thing. We've got a couple of youngsters in the under-23s as well who can fill in if needed. On the left wing, we've got, as actual left wingers, just Scott Nielsen. In fact, if we add on the attacking midfield as well, so we can see Wilkin and Patterson. So we've got, yeah, we've got a few different options on there. And on the right wing, which is where they're all more natural, we've got Sadie, Wilkin, Patterson, and then Nielsen's the natural left winger. But between the four of them, we've got four wingers. They can all play on the left. They just only one of them wants to. So I guess he'll get first dibs on being on the left. And then up front, where we could potentially do with another player again, if we have a look at our strikers, we've got Merson, Akpabire, Banton and Moyo. I wouldn't be offended to get another striker in. That youngster, it was just terrible, a terrible bit of scouting by the coaches. I mean, we signed him for £30 a week, but he's only got 2-star current ability. So he might come good. He's not good yet. But we will have a look to see if we've got any more. Do we still want to be offering? We're going to keep offering trials to players who are free, but we ain't bringing any more trials in. We've got no money. Any more permanent players, sorry. But we will see if we can find a striker available on loan who can potentially pad us out a little bit, but there's not really very much in. Michael Mullings, I mean, he was the lad who was on trial with us, so should we get him as well? Higher quality players. Well, why let us have him on trial then? Jordan Edwards we had last year. We don't need Edwards and Bosma back. We'll just bring Bosma back. And yeah, we need a striker. If anyone's got a striker they can send me, let me know. That isn't me inviting striker name recommendations in the comments, although I know they're coming, but we could use a striker. Right back problem has been solved. Teddy Blur, 19-year-old right back, on loan from Mansfield for the season. 3.5-star current ability, 5-star potential, considerably better than Hurd and Percy. Apparently can play on the right-hand side of midfield as well, which might be handy. Was at Slough last year in this league. Time to select our captain for the season then. Sambu just keeps it easy peasy. We don't have a vice captain at the moment, and it's recommending Bosma. I guess we go with Bosma. I know he's here on loan, but he is on here loan for the season, so that's probably acceptable. I don't know why we were being told about that. We've potentially got a striker coming in. We tried to sign Danny Mills, but he wanted over £1,000 a week. We tried to sign Sol Price, who was a top scorer in the division last year. Swindon want him in their first team squad in League 2 this year. And in fact, no, now they want him to play with higher quality players. But Urya Gooden is here on trial at the moment. 3-star current ability, 5-star potential. I mean, he's primarily a winger who can also play up front a bit. I'm really just looking for bodies up front at this point. We need players, and he's a striker, and he's the only striker I can find to just fill out the last missing piece of the squad. And then that leaves me 3 more loan signings to use as the season goes on, if we can find a better striker, and then the other 2 to cover for any injuries we get as the season progresses, I guess. But we are very close to the end of this summer. We're approaching the first game of the new season, so we'll just roll over into that. We'll have a look at what the team is going to be for that game. You'll already know, because you'll have already watched that episode earlier on today, that I haven't recorded yet. So let me know in the comments, how did we get on? Because you know, and I don't. But we'll show you that team and just summarise the transfers before we wrap things up on this monster-length Non-League to Legend Extra transfer special. This is a problem, because we don't have any money to offer him a real contract again. We actually could find ourselves, Eastbourne are in our league as well, we could actually find ourselves with fewer, poorer quality strikers than we had last season if we lose Banton as well. Oh, I've messed up. I've messed up the strikers completely. We've fixed the midfield and the goalkeeper, but we still don't have a striker. I need a decent loan to come through, and quick. In light of the lack of strikers and all these newfound wingers we've got, we're just training this tactic as well. We're not going to use it on the first day of the season, but it's similar direct counter-attack to the one that we use with the 4-4-2, just setting up as a 4-3-3. Now, the problem is we don't really have anyone who can... I guess Sambu could play there, but we're not exactly over-endowed with lots of central midfield players. There's not really a role in that setup for David Noble. Ivory can't really do any of those. So we're kind of playing the other 3 that aren't Noble if we do this system, which is a long way from perfect, but we do have some decent wingers and only 1 decent striker potentially. So that's there as an option. We'll still use the 4-4-2 for the first game of this season. We need a striker, and we need one quick. So after all the shenanigans of the summer, this is the team we're going to end up with for that first game of the season away against Welling. I mean, you could argue it looks very familiar, but it's strengthened in the right areas. Mcdonough has improved as a keeper since last summer. Wyatt's a top quality left back. Suckling is an improvement. from Bender alongside Mills at the back. Hurd is on borrowed time and he knows it. Bloor will be in the team in no time in that position. But really just, I don't want to throw everybody in one go. In the midfield, Wilkin gets to move back over to the right-hand side after a year playing on the left. With Sambu and Noble in the middle. I don't know how long Noble lasts. He's already not, I mean, it's taking him longer to get fit than everybody else. And then Patterson can come in on the left-hand side. For now, we have plenty of other options to try in these wide positions as well. And Merson's joined up front by Akpabire, who might be brilliant. Who knows? But there's plenty of other new options knocking around on the bench as well. It will take a little while to work out what our strongest team is, but fingers crossed. Those subtle little changes are all we need to turn a team that was losing semi-finalists in the playoffs last year into proper promotion contenders. Because remember, that's why it doesn't need to look like a completely revolutionised team, because last year's team, in the end, was actually pretty good. But we are going to leave things out on this extraordinarily long episode of Non-League to Legend Extra. Please let me know down in the comments if you enjoyed this format, whether it's something you'd like to see me do again, or just save it to short little summaries at the start of the new seasons, or if I can live stream them. But do you like this long form thing if it's not live and doesn't have the interaction? I am eager to hear more down in the comments. We like to be experimental sometimes. But for now, we are going to end things there. If you have enjoyed this video, please make sure you leave a nice big thumbs up on there for me. Subscribe to the channel for daily Football Manager videos. And thank you very much for watching.